Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the NGI panel, Communities, Digital Rights, and the Future of the Internet, an event that organized in the context of the Next Generation Internet Initiative by the European Commission. My name is Ana Higueras. I'm part of the NGI Outreach Office, and I'm also head of projects at Ideas for Change. Today, we gather to discuss the intersection of technology, policy, and human rights as we focus on a future of internet of humans, one that resonates with fundamental rights such as trust, security, or inclusion. Let me now briefly introduce the NGI initiative, a project by the European Commission that is working to transform the internet into a domain that reflects the values and norms upheld in Europe. With an initial investment of over 2,050 million between 2018 and 2020, the NGI has already made significant advances. It has supported more than 1,000 internet researchers and innovators across hundreds of projects, fostering a pretty vivid landscape of open source solutions where ideas have flourished into impactful realities. Now, and thanks to the renewed EU funding under Eurozone Europe, the NGI continues its mission with enhanced vigor, and the funding transcends the mere financial support as it embodies also mentoring and comprehensive support, guiding these more than 1,000 innovators on their journey from nascent ideas to tangible business solutions. We will be hearing more details about the NGI program in a few minutes, as I'll have with me both Monique Calisti and Josh Lobo presentations. But let me explain a bit today's discussion. We have made an effort to bring together experts, activists, and leaders who are part of the digital rights ecosystem. The communities that we have today are not just aligned with the main values that the NGI initiative defends, they're also its active architects. They are shaping an internet safe, open, inclusive, and democratic by default. They tackle critical issues like data privacy or freedom of expression, access to knowledge, algorithmic justice, net neutrality, or digital inclusion, ensuring that the internet remains a beneficial force available for all without distinction. Today's panel represents an opportunity to discuss the main priorities and lines of action in the current digital landscape, together with our four, which will not be here because unfortunately we got a last-minute cancellation, three experts that are actively tackling these issues in their respective communities and networks. We will have Manavpreet Kaur from Wikimedia Foundation, Antoine Bernier from Missions Publiques, and Lucia Errandonea from Algorights. It couldn't make it today, but we were also supposed to have with us Caterina Rodelli from Access Now. Some last-minute disease made her cancel only half an hour ago, but we'll try to make sure to have her presentation or her content, maybe send it over to the attendees later on. Now, let me also advance. This will be a very open and wide discussion, tackling diverse matters. Don't expect narrow solutions or closed manifests, because the opportunity today is on listening and merging the different ideas to find new avenues, new collaborative spaces, and explore how these efforts can complement those that are currently made by the NGI program. Also, some rules. Please remember the full session is recorded and it will be broadcasted on PeerTube. The hashtag for today's session is digital rights, together with the classical NGI. And if you have questions, comments, remarks, please make use of the chat. After the panelists finish with the introductions, we will be moderating a debate. So please make also sure that if you have questions or comments, you put them on the chat so that we can send them to the speakers. So thank you in advance for joining us in this exciting NGI morning. And now, with no further ado, I would like to introduce Monique Calisti. Dr. Calisti is leading and coordination, is the CEO of Martel, is the Innovate Director of the NGI Outreach Office, and she's leading and coordinating communication and marketing activities across the next generation internet. Now over to you, Monique, for presenting. You are on mute, Monique. We can't hear you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Anna. I was indeed on mute. It's very nice to be here and be with the community. I see several people are joining now, so it's very good. We are having a growing audience that is interested in discussing with us today about communities, digital rights, and the role of the future internet for also democracy and inclusion and fairness in our society. I would like to show a couple of slides, but maybe it's taking too long. So what I will do, because I cannot share my screen, what I know that most of the things that concern the community will be presented anyway by the project officer at the NGI unit, Georges Lobo. So on my side, what I wanted to remind you is that there is a dedicated NGI outreach office that has been organizing this event and that organizes other events and that tries to voice all the innovators within this community that are doing important work to transform the way the internet works. And we help also promoting open calls, which are funding opportunities for newcomers, for new innovators and researchers to get their ideas, their innovative work financed. Most of the information can be found on the NGI.eu portal. And you can, of course, follow the NGI across several social media channels, including LinkedIn, X, Mastodon, PeerTube, and YouTube. For me, what's very important is to mark an important point before I give the floor to Georges. That is the fact that it's a community of communities. There are several areas, research and innovation areas, that are clustered within the NGI space. Anna mentioned already a few of the core topics. And it's an open and inclusive community that welcomes different types of organizations, different type of players, medium, small, individuals, public, private organizations. Today, we will discuss about a few aspects that are central to the vision of this community, central to the work we are doing, and also central to the future of the society that we all want. Our society will and is already been largely virtual. We live a big portion of our lives within the internet, and we want the internet to be the right place for us and for all citizens. So without any further ado, I would like to give the floor to Georges, I'm looking very much forward to the discussions that will follow. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Monique. Can I share my slides, Anna? Oh.
Yes, Paula has granted you now presentation.
Okay, I will start the slideshow.
Be okay right now? Yes. Thank you.
I will start the slideshow with just wait a minute. I'm doing it.
I'm kind. While you share
I see. Yeah.
Okay.
Screen, and this is okay. Can you confirm if you see my screen?
Yes. Perfect.
Do you see
Thank
it?
you.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay. So thanks for allowing me. So I'm sorry first because my head of unit is in another important meeting last minute. So I'm replacing Gemma, who is normally was a foreseen user. So presenter. So here, just to give a short overview of the NGI initiative under this panel. So I guess most of the people are here. And I will start first with a sort of regulatory framework where we operate and where NGI sits a bit. So, as you know, there is a large package that was adopted 2 years ago, the Digital Compass, which contained the EU Digital Principle and Rights, a declaration for the future of Internet. And there are also an underlying sets of regulation, so the GDPR that we know, the European Strategy for Data. You have the AR regulation, which is has been adopted. You have the DMA, DSA. We have the Cyber Resilience Act. So there are a number of things, that have been either adopted or in the process of being adopted, where I mean NGI and open source more at large can have a role to play. And of course, you have also the aspects of internet governance that we are dealing, the digital commons. I will come back again later towards the end of this presentation. So there are a number of things where NGI fits. So, I mean, NGI, the vision is, of course, based because we are in the Commission based on the EU policy and regulatory framework. And as Monique mentioned already, is to have an internet of humans, or something, because now we're spending more and more time on internet virtually, so we need to be sure that all the fundamental rights are respected, and that is done in a way around, I mean, persons and people, and not necessarily behind to the benefit only of the big tech. So what needs to be done, I mean, in open source, etc. I mean, usually it's through research. So it's what we need to do is to develop technology and to foster its uptake. So through research and innovation, contribution to standard, community building, and piloting. So here to recall most of the, I mean, the main pillars that were behind next generation internet. So the values, so these are the values that we all could agree on. I mean, I wouldn't know anybody would disagree on that, or openly at least. The technologies, so these are the technologies, but as you, I mean, I will show also later, I mean, we cover the full internet stacks. The funding, so the idea was also to use this cascading funding, and to have a very to minimize the administrative procedure, not to have people applying for grants at the Commission level, but to have a more simplified and something that could be more agile to answer to the needs of the community. And the community, of course, we have I mean, we have startups, there are open source developer, and as well the individual researchers. So this is the community we are addressing. For that, we use cascading funding. So, I mean, it's what we called for the, I mean, cascading funding. It means that we give money to a small consortium, which needs to, more or less, for the research and innovation, it's 80% of the budget has to be distributed to innovators. So, and here it's to, I mean, the idea is to reach talents in more easy way, to have a simple procedure that we can also offer mentoring, and we are complementary to other initiatives that may arise as well in the Commission level. So the state of play, we have been operating now for since 2018. We enter in soon 6 years. And here there have been a unique ecosystem. So there have been more than 1,000 projects and mobilizing. So this was the 80%, the 80 millions of funds. So which is really a very large funding for open source. We have quite, I mean, 15% success rate. So it means that we have quite a number of people applying. And we also have engaged with more than 1,000 innovators. And as well, the important point is that these are people, 80% of these people did never received EU funding before. So it means that they were maybe reluctant to apply for funding at the EU level, and because sometimes it's difficult, you have to find a consortium, etc. Here is the advantage that it's quite simple. So this is a way as well to distribute EU funding directly to innovators without giving them too much burden. And today there is something that, of course, NGI didn't start as a purely open source, but now it's a requirement. So everything is open source right now. So the building blocks, as I say, we cover most of the, here you have the figures. We cover most of the building blocks and all the internet stacks. So from the hardware to data, AI, application, we have verticals, we have, middleware, identity, software engineering, network, etc. So we cover almost all technologies of internet. Sorry. Okay, so here are the example, some on the name of the project that you might be familiar with. Here you see it's a picture today of what I mean NGI initiative has been doing. So you have a line today, which is I would see. I mean on yellow you have the finished project. In white you have the projects that are still running, the one that just finished. And as you see, there are also new projects in blue. These are the projects that we selected. I will mention them briefly because it's we made a slight change compared to what was done before. And I mean, this is a way as well to go to digital commons. So I mean, digital commons, just to introduce, because it fits more or less the new narrative, as I mentioned, and it's a narrative that we are using more and more now. And as we use it, so we use the definition that was done by the declaration by the presidency of the Council of the European Union. It was under the French presidency. So they are non-rival rules, non-exclusive digital resource defined by shared production, maintenance, and governance. So the idea is that, I mean, this fits, of course, the values and the principles we have under NGI, so it fits pretty well. And of course, I mean, it includes, so it's not that we claim in NGI to feed, to be responsible for all the digital commons, because a big part of the commons are data, and we don't deal directly with data. But it includes, of course, the open source software, open hardware, open design, open standards, so the internet commons and open data. So as I mentioned, I mean, usually why we are interested in digital commons and what should, I mean, they of course, they respect the European Declaration of Digital Rights and Principle. There is also the sovereignty narrative, because the source being open, you can always adapt it to it. You can always replicate it. You can have people working on it. So there is, you avoid lock-in on the top right, below right corner. It's of course the lock-in is enabled through interoperability and affordable technologies. So this is also a very important point, and this is more or less, although it's not, I mean, that mentioned, but interoperability is a very important aspects of usually the internet technologies and all the products that are emerging in NGI. So they offer a greater interoperability and all the ways to communicate with each other, even to avoid siloing and I mean data logging. And of course, you have this transparency. So many of the product, I mean, if we take the one of the that was famous recently, Mastodon and I mean, ActivityPub, Fediverse, these are very important tools. I mean, bricks that allows, I mean, federation without centralization, affordable, and as well transparency, and avoid central control. So this is also very important. Of course, if you sorry, I think I forgot one slide, but I will add it now to talk about the new projects. And let me check if I find it. Yeah, no, sorry, I forgot. Sorry for the interruption. I went to so yeah, it was to talk about where okay. No, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, so this was the part that I wanted to show. No. This was the, yeah, sorry, sorry for the interruptions.
I don't know if it's just me, but I've lost George. I couldn't hear him anymore.
I also lost him.
Okay, so let's wait a
Screen
bit.
has
But
frozen. I suggest that we don't show his screen, Paula.
yes, let's
Thank
move,
you.
let's move
And
forward. So thanks, Monique. Thanks, George, because I know that now we have set the context of the NGI initiative. Now we will move forward by introducing our three, not four, sorry about that, panelists today. They will tell us how each of their communities is approaching and tackling this Internet of Humans that we've been hearing about. They will share with us efforts on thinking and acting towards preserving human rights in the digital world from a variety of perspectives. We will ask each of the panelists to give us a 7-minute introduction to the work they have been carrying out in their own organizations and communities. So now, with no further ado, let me introduce Dr. Manavpreet Kaur. Oh.
Do you hear me?
Yes. Is it George?
Sorry, how long? Because I was talking, but I didn't have any. I lost my connection. I realized after.
Yeah.
I don't know when I got interrupted. Yeah.
You were looking for this last slide with the new project.
Okay.
So we just moved a bit forward.
Okay. That's not a problem. Okay.
You can use maybe the chat for linking the new project, or maybe we can do it later.
Okay,
yes.
Okay.
Then thanks,
that's
George.
good. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
It always happens with the internet. Don't worry, it's all fine. So let me now introduce Dr. Manavpreet Kaur. Manav is Senior Governance Committee Specialist at the Wikimedia Foundation. She supports the Workflow of Affiliations Committee, a volunteer body that advises and makes recommendations regarding the recognition and existence of Wikimedia movement affiliates. And the workflow includes the review of new applications for recognition as affiliates, compliance, and conflicts management. In her volunteer capacity, Manavpreet is the South Asia representative of the Movement Charter Drafting Committee, and her association with the movement goes back to 2012, when she joined as a volunteer on Punjabi Wikipedia. Now, the floor is yours, Manav. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening. I'm Manavpreet Kaur. My pronouns are she and her.
I think we lost her as well.
Yes, we lost her as well.
Hi. Can you hear me now? Oh my God.
Yes.
I don't know where you lost me. I'm sorry, I'm at the hotel. My internet connection is a little dodgy, and that's why I'm avoiding the video itself.
Okay. We hear you right now.
Okay, so I'll start again. To make sure that I was audible throughout. I'm Manavpreet Kaur. I go by Manav as well. I am an Indian and I reside in India as well. But currently, I'm joining this session from Atlanta. I'm here for work. My pronouns are she and her. I joined the Wikimedia movement back in 2012 as a volunteer. I used to contribute in my subject, which was forensic science. And then later I joined the foundation in 2020. I'm today representing the governance committee at Wikimedia Foundation. This committee actually supports the different volunteer bodies across the movement, making sure that their working is fine, and also in order to support the heavy workload that they have been doing as volunteer committees. Talking about the Wikimedia movement, this movement is centered around the principles of open knowledge, free access to information, and collaborative content creation. Its primary goal is to make knowledge freely available to people around the world. While it advocates for digital rights, privacy, and freedom of expression, the emphasis is on providing a platform for global collaboration rather than asserting control over digital spaces. Wikimedia projects such as Wikipedia operate on a decentralized model where content is created and edited by a diverse community of volunteers worldwide. The movement encourages the sharing of knowledge across borders and aims to create a repository of information that transcends geographical and political borders. The Wikimedia Foundation's mission is to empower and engage people around the world to collect and develop educational content under a free license or in the public domain, and to disseminate it effectively and globally. To fulfill this ambitious goal, the Wikimedia Foundation provides technical and organizational infrastructure necessary for contributing content across multiple languages. It's important to note that the foundation does not create or curate content on wikis itself. Our dedicated community of volunteers, Wikimedians, create and maintain the Wikipedia and other related projects. In the pursuit of our mission, the Wikimedia Foundation collaborates with a vast network of individual volunteers, our affiliated organizations that includes user groups, chapters, thematic organization, and also various partners worldwide. Our commitment extends beyond content creation to ensuring that valuable information generated by our projects remains freely available on the internet. We're not only confined to the digital space, but Wikimedia Foundation actively engages in political advocacy, advocating for principles of free knowledge and open access. So I'm here to talk about how all these different communities engage with us in their affiliate capacity, the kind of challenges that we have been facing, and how we can align better. Thank you.
Thanks, Manaf, for the introduction. I'll skip comments because at the end we will be having the moderation session. So I'll go straight into introducing the next panelist, who is Antoine Bernier. He's the co-director of Missions Publiques. He joined Missions Publiques in 2011, and his work there aims at supporting public authorities, civil society organizations, and private companies to design, implement, and evaluate citizen participation. Antoine works at all levels of policymaking, from the neighborhood to global negotiations on the topics like internet governance, space, and space governance. He has coordinated worldwide events and dialogues, such as the Global Citizens Debate on the Future of the Internet. And Antoine loves the internet, and he thinks we need to govern it all together. Now, Antoine, over to you.
Yes, bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. So I'm Antoine. I'm French, as you can hear it, but based in Germany since 20 years, living in Bonn, because I know that digital formats, you always forget where we are, but physically I'm in Bonn, Germany. Nice weather today. So I wanted to start by saying that what Monique was saying at the beginning, that internet is something which impacts all humanity, even if 45% of humanity does not have internet or internet access, they are impacted by it, be it because of the logistics system, be it because of the finance system, everything we know. So that's something which is for everyone, actually impacting everyone. So we need, and that's my feeling and conviction, we need to find a way to govern it together. And that's perfectly what also George was striking about the NGI and the fact that it's a digital common, so something that is shared by humanity and hence should be governed by humanity in a shared governance. That was one of the points of the definition, and I like it. But that's good, but that's a challenge. And the challenge is first because it's both global and local. So you need to understand what is the global dimension of the internet and what it makes with humanity, but also the very local translation and challenges that you have in some part of the world, not in other, or that are very specific to specific region, while being a global thing. So that's the first challenge we have if we want to say we want to govern it together. And I think the second big challenge is that the structure we have in place today to do governance is not fit for purpose. If we go through it rapidly, we have mostly nation states, and nation states have a huge limitation. They have borders. And if you talk about governance of global commons, and it's true for internet, but also for climate, for migration, for many, the problem of states is that they have a bias towards the frontiers, and that's difficult for them to tackle borderless issues. So that's number one. If you look at international organizations, which are another arena of governance for those questions, it's the same. They are member state based, so they kind of replicate the problem of having to deal with a borderless system while being border based. Now, if you look at corporate governance, you have, which is a big piece of the internet governance today, you have another problem because those companies tend to be quite global, but they have their bottom line as the mission they have. So they have another set of incentives in the governing of the digital commons. So that's also quite a limitation if you think about it. And we have, on top of that, two problems, is that the governance structure we have today is short-term. So there is a problem in taking into account future generation for what we are deciding today, which is due to also the incentive structure of those different arenas. And the second thing is the planet, the non-humans are not taken into account into that. So that's another limitation. And that's why we are trying to work on that at Mission Publique. And we are trying to understand how can we have a governance which is taking into account those things I was saying before. So, and very practically, how does it work? We start by building a coalition of multi-stakeholder actors, which are the people I was mentioning before, governments, companies, civil societies, and together we work on a set of questions, a set of decision-making questions that have to be done. And then we submit those questions to citizens that are randomly selected and go through a process of deliberation. So now they are called citizens' assemblies, and we gather citizens in citizens' assemblies all over the world in a decentralized manner. So it's a local process, but which is the same all over the world. So what you get is that connection of a local discussion on a global topic, and you can have both levels at the same time. And then we feed back the results to the stakeholder coalitions so that we create that loop back to decision making. There are so that we have been trying and testing in the past years. It works pretty well. We still have many challenges because it's quite new. It's quite new for the people. It's quite new for the decision makers. But we are working on it, yeah, happy to get into discussion about that.
Thanks, Antoine. And now I would like to welcome Lucia Errandonea, who is member of Algorights and also part of GovTech project at GoB. Lucia Errandonea is a political science graduate with expertise in innovation processes and participation. Currently, she's leading innovation projects with the public administration at GoB Studio and coordinates the GovTech Madrid, a technological innovation laboratory from the regional government of Madrid. Additionally, and that's why she's also here today, she's part of the Algorights community, which aims to promote civil society engagements in the fields of AI technologies with a focus on human rights perspective. Lucia, now over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you all. It's a pleasure to be here and to introduce a little bit what is Algorights. Algorights is a community of people that have been working for 4 years now when AI wasn't that popular at the moment. And we are activists promoting the participation of civil society in the field of AI with a human rights-centered approach. In this community, we have different perspectives, different backgrounds, and different geographical locations, but we have a common interest that is understanding the implications of AI in our society and from this perspective of social justice. So our main goal is to ensure that the design, development, and implementation of AI respects these fundamental rights, including these new digital rights that are rising with the advance of digital transformation that we are experiencing nowadays. So our work, because we are activists, we are doing a lot of awareness and a lot of advocacy. So we have different strategies in these terms to raise awareness and to advocate for public policies to incorporate this perspective of affected groups and collectives, and to include their perspectives in the discussion about the risk of digitalization, and especially focus on AI. For example, we co-organized a series of events to raise awareness, as it was called this event, the DAR, conferences to debate about the role, our role of a civil society in the AI, and how to push further the colonial, feminist, and democratic principles in this context. So some of the conclusions were published in a policy brief with proposals, like very hands-on proposals to incorporate in AI regulations with a human rights scope. This was before the AI Act, so it was kind of like something that we did before. And And because of that, we are also part of European coalitions and networks to advocate for more inclusive and policies. We are, for example, or we were part of these 60 organizations along with Access Now, that is, it couldn't be today, but they were like part of this coalition in which we present this open letter addressed to the Spanish presidency in the Council of the European Union in the context of the AI Act, that regulation, to ask for a more further guarantee of the fundamental rights. So we will continue working in this sense, and in these terms, the idea was to connect in this panel our work with what it has been doing in terms of having an internet more transparent, inclusive, and fair, and the NGI work. So as Europe is doing, as George mentioned, is doing a lot of work in terms of digital rights, and such as Digital Service Act and Digital Markets Act. We are in this umbrella, and we think that some of the challenges are also our concerns, right, about the design and the use of this kind of technology to be more fair, more transparent, and to achieve this algorithmic justice. So some priorities that we are seeing in this intersection between AI, participation, and human rights is, for example, the participation of civil society in the design of public policies that involve these AI technologies to include the perspective of citizens and ensure the policy as fair, responsible, and human-centric. And this has like two sides of the coin, because we have to ensure in one hand that the regulatory processes itself take into account spaces for participation that, for example, the AI Act was kind of deficient in this sense. And on the other hand, we have to push and raise awareness among citizens and the civil society in terms of that these regulations is affecting our daily life. Because sometimes there's a gap between European level and like local levels. Sometimes it's like very far away in terms of our perspective, right? The second priority that we see is advocacy with public administrations regarding the risk of automatization. I work a lot with public administrations and local public administrations, and that they are asking a lot for AI. But what they don't know is like the risk that this implicates, especially in public services that are more sensitive, so like such service, like social services and so on. So it's for us, and for me personally, to be honest, is very crucial to advocate for public procurement to consider certain standards of human rights protection. Finally, we have like the connection with civil society in the area of supervision. So you have the regulation, you have the implementation, but also you have the supervision of these kind of implementations and regulation in terms of AI. So how civil society can have or contribute with their own perspective in this kind of supervision. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I think that it's something that we can have, like we can debate in the Q&A space. So thank you.
Thanks, Lucia. It's getting very complicated for me not to jump into the lots of topics that are popping up. But, you know, there was a debate, so I have to do my very last introduction today. And this is to my dear colleague, Giovanni Macani. He's the head of research at Ideas for Change. He's a fantastic human, I can say. And he's also leading the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Assessment within the NGI program. So he's going to be leading the debate. Giovanni, over to you. And if, yeah, I may be popping some questions on the chat, maybe.
Sure. Thanks very much indeed, Anna, George, Monique, and our panelists, and thanks very much for your precious insights. So before diving into questions from the audience, and I would like to invite our audience to actually pose questions in the chat, either for all our panelists or for someone specifically. Maybe just a brief reflection on what we've heard so far. So the three experts that just spoken, one of the things that I understand they advocate is really to extend participation. So development of future internet that's human-centric, fair, sustainable for all. It's not just a technological matter. It's something that needs to embrace a much wider view of society. And probably the recommendation I receive for NGI as a whole is to really try and extend this sort of collaboration and engagement with stakeholders. So I'd like to ask each of you through a quick round of table once again, if you have any recommendation on how to do this sort of processes, which is usually quite strongly advocated by communities, but sometimes hard to implement it in practice. So if you could share some of your ideas in this direction, that'd be great. So maybe we'll start once again with Manavpreet, if it's okay.
Yeah. Oh my God. I've heard so many amazing thoughts about all the work which is ongoing to create a more digital knowledge, more space for humans to actually collaborate and work on creating a human-centric internet source for information. I think as far as the collaboration goes, the Wikimedia Foundation and the movement is at the forefront of democratizing knowledge by hosting the world's largest collaborative encyclopedia, which is Wikipedia. And we do have various other free knowledge projects. Our commitment to open access, community-driven content creation, and inclusivity aligns seamlessly with ethos of NGI. And NGI also envisions an internet that prioritizes privacy, decentralization, and user empowerment. Both these organizations actually in a kind of way share the common goal of building a human-centric internet that respects the dignity and agency of every individual online. Wikimedia achieves this by fostering a global community that collaboratively creates and disseminates knowledge in multiple languages, ensuring diversity and inclusivity, while NGI, on the other hand, focuses on technological advancements that prioritize privacy, decentralized, and ethical considerations. I think through partnerships and shared knowledge and collaborative initiatives, we can contribute to open standards, interoperability, and global dialogue on the future of the internet. That's what I can think of.
Thanks very much indeed, Manav. Maybe Antoine also has a lot of experience, we know, with citizen engagement. So floor is yours.
Yeah, I would say, as you asked me for an advice, and I would give two. The first one is not let slide back. And what I mean with that is we have the chance actually in internet governance and questions of internet that there is already a very good basis of multi-stakeholder governance at global level. That's already something which is a treasure in a way, because if you look at climate or if you look at other big questions, we don't have that. So there is a challenge, because 2025, there is the new cycle starting of internet governance with the end of that mandate of the Internet Governance Forum. So there is one part which is okay. Hold it, because it's very important. So that's number one, I would say. And there are forces that want to go back to something less multi-stakeholder. And the other one is push forward, is extend, is include ordinary citizens that are non-expert, that are non-engaged in that governance, because it also changes the dynamics of the governance. It's not only the people that are already expert, already engaged, but it gives a much broader discussion, and that's what we are trying to do indeed. But I think I would do the two things: take care that we don't go back, and push to go forward.
Fantastic. Thanks, Antoine. I'll leave it to Lucia.
Thank you. Well, very nice, Antoine. I really like your ideas, and thank you for your advices. So because we are a group of the civil society, one of the things that we are trying to do is just to get more formal spaces for having these intersectional groups that can have that can provide their perspective in this kind of on the design and the implementation of AI and also the supervision. So this is something that we are actually for this year we are trying to do like a practical project in this sense, so I can't say anything more, but we are going to have some experiences and well, I hope learnings about how to include citizen participation or this perspective into the regulations and policy.
Fantastic. Thanks a million. I don't know if there's any specific questions from the chat. But maybe I'll ask another one. So I think it's especially for Antoine and Lucia, but Manav also can intervene if she feels. One thing that we've been discovering through conversating with communities that are concerned with preserving human rights in the digital world is a concern about the need to intertwine policy and technology development and not only society. So what we see lately, given the rapid advancement of technology, is that policy tend to play a catch-up role instead of being part of these conversations. And this is, I guess, an issue that it's hard to solve. It's not an easy question, but I don't know if you have any suggestions or any experience you want to share on how policy and technology development can actually go hand in hand from your own perspectives. I don't know. Antoine, yeah.
No, Lucia, go on. I was first the round before.
Well, this is hard, but I think that like the perspective in this kind of groups. So I don't have any experience in this, like successful experience in this sense, because we are kind of new in this one. So we like started with the awareness, and now we are more in the advocacy group. But I think that this. I'm not going to answer you, but I'm going to like trying to make like another comment. That is, I think that it's very important to have like this the three parts also with the public administration. But because what I'm seeing is not only like we have the civil society, they have their perspective, but they are not they don't have technical skills, but they have all these perspectives that. Can have influence in the technological, but they are never in the same table. So like having also this technical development groups and so on, but also having the technicians of the public administration, like the politicians, because I think that these threesome I'm sorry for the word, but is the only way to create like very good policies that can be viable. Because what is happening is that civil society is advocating for something that sometimes is really hard to implement in the real context of public administration. So this is like a thought more than a case. Sorry for this.
Fantastic.
So
Thanks.
Yeah. So on that, I will answer your question, Giovanni, and pick up the question from Anna about the successful examples, which is in the chat. So let's the European Commission has done a very good job last year at doing exactly that, integrating society and citizens into policy making. And it was what they call a European Citizens Panel. So 150 citizens from all member states, 27, and they gathered in Brussels and online to talk about virtual worlds and the strategy of the Commission on virtual worlds. And the DG Connect wanted to have the views and the vision of citizens about how technology should fit the values and principles that citizens wanted to see for the development of virtual worlds. That was a fantastic exercise. we had a series of 19 recommendations at the end of that exercise, and DG Connect translated or integrated that feedback and those recommendations in the communication that they have published last June on Web 4. And I think that's a perfect stream. DG Connect is doing a policy on Web 4. They integrate experts' input, but they also integrate organized interest and citizens. Then they take the package and they do the communication. And actually, next week, Tuesday, we're going to have the feedback event of that, meaning that the Commission is going to come back to the citizens and participants saying, okay, since we have had your recommendations and the communication, that's what we've been working on. And here I see the potential. It's the beginning. I mean, we are at the very beginning of that kind of processes and institutionalization or embeddedness of those processes. But that's a very good example of how it can be done. And I was talking with the people at DG Connect saying, okay, actually, we have the recommendation of the citizen on the table and we are inspired by them. So it's not about citizens having the final say. It's about that complex multi-stakeholder process of discussing technology and being able to adapt and to go back and forth with society and between decision makers and society. And then Anna, what you were saying about the impact. So it's actually about the impact. And I think it's very interesting because for me, I am moving a lot in that reflection. And impact goes from the very visible and direct to something very invisible and indirect. And I will give 3 examples. So visible direct was 2020 as we did the stakeholders dialogue on the future of the internet. It was about the internet governance architecture, and we did a global stakeholder dialogue. It was online because of the COVID pandemic, but we had a series of 7 recommendations, and those 7 recommendations were the exact 7 chapters that Germany and the United Arab Emirates put as a proposal in front of the UN to restructure internet governance. That was a perfect, visible, one-to-one. Participants propose something, and it is proposed by the government or by the 2 chair of that process at the UN level. So that's pretty easy. But then you have things that are much more invisible. One of them, for example, as we did with the internet, we worked with Brazilian partners, and for them it was the first time they had the financing and the support to do a citizen deliberation in Brazil as a completely new civil society organization in that field. And it was after that they could go on working based on that experience and the knowledge they had also gathered in deploying a citizen deliberation. And now, a couple of months ago, they have started a network of 12 cities in Brazil doing citizens' assemblies on climate. So here you see the impact on organizations and how that can diffuse. That's quite indirect. And then there is the invisible indirect, and that's my favorite story. In 2015, we deployed a global citizens dialogue on climate before COP21 Paris, because we wanted to have the voice of citizens on the Paris Agreement. And we were so we had very, very interesting results of, we had 10,000 participants in 76 countries of the world, I think. And we had very strong results about climate change and the Paris Agreement. And we were at the negotiation at COP21, and we were trying to talk with delegations and stakeholders, and it was very difficult. And of course, there was no single word about the result of the process in the Paris Agreement text. So it was, in a way, it was a failure of impact. But 3 years later, in 2018-19, I met someone who was at that time working for the global network of libraries. And we talk and say, but yes, of course, I know what you're doing, because back in 2015, I was head of delegation of the UK. And each time I had a bilateral meeting with another country, I took the report of your citizens dialogue and looked at it and say, okay, look, that's what the citizens of your country want about climate change, so you should do it. So it was a tool of negotiation inside of that. So that's a very nice example of, but I wouldn't know. I mean, that's yeah. So sometimes there is impact without we know.
Fantastic. Thanks, Antoine. As usual, very, very inspiring stories and experiences. I don't know if Manav wants to add something to this question. Then we have one from George in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. I think when we talk about this, I think Wikimedia Movement's primary focus on providing a platform for open knowledge and education is something that actually indirectly contributes to a lot of societal changes. I think the way we have been managing the global communities, the diversity, equity, and inclusion is the lens of all the projects that are being designed. There's no kind of control that we have on the terms of the content which is provided on these projects, but we do have regulations that manage how that information is imparted and how we are actually presenting the facts on our Wikimedia projects. The ability for people to come together from diverse backgrounds and being able to generate a common source of information in itself is something that can actually act as an example of how we actually can build a community together and can work together. Also, the way the Wikimedia Movement governance works is keeping the community at the core of everything is something which is also where we can actually learn on how to build a community and how to sustain as a global community of volunteers who are in it to actually create a knowledge repository and we're all working together. I think there are unique kind of challenges that we also face here, but at the same time, the way the community is committed to creating a content which is globally accessible, we are trying to bridge the digital divide, and we are also making sure that the technology and the infrastructure that we are actually implementing to make this platform accessible and the experience of users smooth on this platform is also something that we have been continuously working on. There is no one project or two projects that I can point my finger on. I think our commitment to keeping it community-centric is something that that is an inclusive process and something that we actually are committed towards and trying to actually expand it as we grow forward.
Thanks very much, Manav. So I know we're running out of time, but maybe there's room for the last question from the audience, from George. Question to Lucia and Antoine. So many of the initiatives, in particular GovTech, are public sector driven in the so-called
I can ask the question if you want.
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so just to introduce, because I know that Gobi is in GovTech Incubator. I was also responsible for the GovTech Incubator, so in my previous assignment. So before I joined, that was my last task in Digit. So I'm very much interested as well. I mean, I'm happy to see, because it's something that I try to do as well, to do the GovTech role, because it's true that GovTech is not necessarily using open source, relying on open source, but we know that many, and also we saw on the pilots that we have on, I mean, that was the missing slide I had on NGI, because I mean, we supported the funding, but as well now we want to support as well the update. So this is why, I mean, in the last call, we supported 4 pilots. We have selected 4 pilots, one of them being really focused on public sector, because it's called for local communities, to have a sort of ecosystem of services for local communities to support local economy. And I was wondering that, I mean, it's still this, I have the impression that these are still words that don't talk much, although if we see all the, I would say, all the international initiatives that have GovStack or Digital Public Good Alliance, very much focused towards, I mean, digital public administration. So interactions between, supporting the interaction between the public sector and the citizens, so the user. So what do you think? I mean, it's Lucia and also Antoine, because we know that France is very active as well. I mean, there are in fact 2 questions. The first is how to get more involved, and do you think that in the GovTech should be sort of initiatives should be more really focusing on open source and on these values? And as well, how to be sure, because it's something we noticed that although in many member states there are agencies or ministries, teams are developing open source, they usually do it in a closed manner. So they release their code in open source, but the source code is not really something that you can share because it fits to really a particular need of a given public administration or country. How do you think we could work to have this more open and more, I mean, because this would support the uptake, of course. if we work hand in hand, because the public sector would be a big driver in contributing back to the community. Because I know now, I mean, after working in GovTech, I know there is an immense pool of developers in the European digital public administration where they could give back, and so they could support either the countries, this sort of thing. I mean, sometimes we see that certain solutions they lack support. So how do you think the GovTech sector and the public administration could contribute more to this the world of digital commons and digital rights?
Oh, well, if you want that one, I can start answering. Thank you, George, for your question. This is something that I'm passionate. I'm really passionate about. I think because we at Gove, we are kind of a bridge between public administration and the startup solution and SMEs. I think that one thing that is missing here is this bridge, to be honest. I think that public administration and I work with local municipalities, and they are the teams are very, the workload is super high, and they don't have this the time and also the resources, human and also in terms of money to go through these open, more open technologies. So I think that what is missing, and this is something that we do, and it's very hard. It's not easy. It's just to be this link between the teams and the technology, because it's very hard for them to change what they have and to improve the digital services that they have. But at the same time, they have more and more a claim from their citizens to be more digital. So they have this in this paradox. And I think that is just to have someone that could fill this gap and to go through all this process in which the teams in the public administration have to implement this kind of technologies. In this sense, also they have we work with small pilots just to get the sense of what they need, because sometimes they don't know what they need. They have a big problem and they don't have, and also they don't have the knowledge and so they don't know what is out there in the market or the tools that the European Commission, the NGI program are offering. So I think that this is kind of my answer.
Yeah, thanks, George. You talked about France. I'm not even half French now. I've been living in Germany since 20 years, but I come from Toulouse, south of France, and I do something that rugbymen do. It's botter en touche. So I will kick on the side and give you a kind of answer. First one is what we do normally when we do those global citizens dialogue. We do everything on copyleft, Creative Commons licenses for the methodology. So it's not about the technology as code, it's also the technology of processes. And we love to have them open so that other people can do them. And that's the best way to multiply and scale. Because if it's closed source methodologies or copyrighted methodologies, you just stop very quick because people can't use it. So that's number one. Number two, I think there are very good examples. And for example, the new platform of the European Commission for citizen participation, Have You Say, is based on Decidim. So it's an open source platform with open source modules. And I think that's the right approach, because what you do is collaborate. And sometimes it's a city leveraging finance to develop a module, which is then good for everyone. Sometimes the European Commission, that multilingual module, for example, has been heavily supported by the Commission, and now we have it for everyone. I think that's a good way. And the last thing is, for me, which is very a big question, is of course the sustainability and business model of open source, which is a question since ever. But there is something I love exploring, is what is called the retroactive public funding. which is a system that you can see in some communities of the decentralized Web3 blockchain ecosystem, where what they do is people do stuff, open source, and then you can, with the revenue of the produced by all the sum of those technologies, you give back to people that have contributed to it. And I think that notion of retroactive public funding is very interesting, and I think that can be explored. It's at the very beginning, but it could. I think it's a very nice thing to explore.
Thanks very much, everyone. Really, I know we're out of time, so I think I will just share some closing remarks. So first of all, I would like to really express our heartfelt thanks on behalf of the entire NGI program and the NGI Outreach Office to all of you, to Dr. Monique Calisti, that has given us an overview of NGI as a community of communities, which I'm really excited personally to be part of. Thanks to George, that has positioned NGI in this complex framework of existing policies and really as an effort to develop or support these visions for preserving EU values and rights through digital commons. Thanks, Manavpreet from Wikimedia Foundation, Lucia from Algorights, GovTech, and Antoine, of course, from Mission Publiques. Just sharing last thought, I guess. Well, two more things, I suppose. One is also from the comments in the chat. What we observe is that we are facing the same challenges, and that's a good news, because we can join forces. And I guess one of the things that we will be trying to do as Ideas for Change within the NGI Outreach Office and NGI for All is really try and create a space where we can all have more in-depth and profound debates and discussions, and hopefully collaborate and share experiences on how to address this very complex, but I suppose common challenges. And then the last thing is, if Paula allows me to share my screen for 1 second only. I've seen many questions about NGI in general, so I will just very briefly show some of the slides from Monique, actually. I hope you can see them, just to say how to get informed, how to engage with NGI. So as mentioned, NGI has several different projects. At the moment, there are several open calls open for submissions: NGI Zero Review, NGI Search, NGI Zero Core, as well as NGI Trust Chain, where everyone can really read the calls, and if they have an idea or a proposal, can submit their idea and hopefully receive funding. And important important or relevant way to follow NGI, its outcomes, its outputs, and obviously also to get to know the opportunities that exist to engage with NGI and to engage with the NGI ecosystem is our online community. So that's available on community.ngi.eu, hosted by Funding Box, one of our partners. And we'll invite you to subscribe to the community and get to engage with some of the people within NGI and beyond. And then finally, as mentioned by Monique, we have a wide online presence. So follow us, go on the website, which unfortunately now I understand is down for a small issue, but it'll be online very soon. Apologize for the inconvenience. But yeah, said that, I just want to thank everyone very much. Again, thanks very much to the audience that has been patient and has followed us till the very end. And looking forward for the next event. And yeah, thanks and everyone.
Also, thank you to you and Anna, Giovanni and Anna, for organizing this great panel. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone. Talk very soon. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.